Hey everybody, welcome to Late Night Movie Talk, and tonight we're going to talk about Superman. It's written and directed by James Gunn. You got David Corenswet as Superman, Rachel Brosnahan as Lois Lane. You got Nicholas Hoult as Lex Luthor, Nathan Fillion as Green Lantern. This also serves as the launch of the new DC Universe, and let's find out if it's been worth the wait. So we start off, and he's been Superman for about 3 years now, so we're skipping an origin story, which I think is the right decision. Everybody pretty much knows, this story by now. And Superman has interfered with a political situation, and Lex Luthor is using all of this to kind of sway the public opinion of Superman, and he's trying to get the government's backing to be able to capture him and kill him, because obviously Lex Luthor just hates Superman and everything he represents. And so first off, I didn't think I would say this, but I thought Corenswet makes a good Superman. I thought he was pretty solid in the role, and I thought they did a pretty good job of getting the feel of Superman down for the most part. I also really like Brosnahan as Lois Lane. I thought she's probably one of the better Lois Lanes recently. And Nathan Fillion, of course, is good as Green Lantern. He's funny. He's got good comedic timing, and I also really enjoyed Mr. Terrific's character. I don't know him from the comic books because I'm no expert, but I enjoyed watching him for the most part as well. However, I did not like Nicholas Hoult as Lex Luthor. I thought that was a really bad casting choice, but also I thought the writing for his character was off as well, because he doesn't come across as the cold, calculating genius who's able to go toe to toe with Superman because of how smart and resourceful he is. Instead, he comes across as a spoiled brat, and to me that just it doesn't feel like a very good Lex Luthor. It just doesn't work for me. And I would say for almost the first half of this movie, I was actually, for the most part, enjoying myself. There were some things here and there that I thought I wouldn't have done, or I thought just didn't really make a lot of sense, or shouldn't have been included in a first movie per se. But things took a pretty big dip for me whenever, like I said, it's about halfway through and we get to this pocket dimension, and that's where Gunn's writing and direction, I think, suffer and hurts the movie, because that's where it starts to feel more conflicting as far as the tone goes, and that's where you start to notice the cluttered screenplay. There's too much going on. We got, I think, too many characters for a first movie, and it kind of lacks focus. But mostly Gunn's comedy, I just feel doesn't necessarily work that well for the most part for a Superman story. It works well for Guardians of the Galaxy. I just don't think it necessarily fits for this type of movie. Some of it does, but not all of it. I thought for the most part the CGI was well done. There's some parts where it feels off, and I'm not sure if that was Gunn intentionally doing that to kind of make it more, like a comic book movie, or it just maybe wasn't the best CGI. And the same with some of his camera angles and the way he kind of swings the camera around. Sometimes it feels abrupt, and it doesn't always work for me, but I wouldn't say it's not enough to ruin the movie. The cinematography is acceptable, I would say. It doesn't, as far as Superman flying or Superman's fights, I kind of think we got it better in Man of Steel. So I don't think it does anything new or well enough to be this really stands out. I just think it's adequate. And in the third act, when Metropolis is in danger and they need to evacuate the city because, that was a big issue with Man of Steel because a lot of innocent people just died because Superman didn't kind of draw the fight out. So you can see where they try to, not have that same problem. And that was a thing that I thought that kind of took me out because you had Metropolis, this big city, and then out of nowhere, it's just evacuated. Everybody just managed to get out very quickly. That could be a nitpick, but it's just something that I noticed. I did appreciate the return of the classic Superman theme, although changed up a little bit to kind of feel more, more like synth rock. So, but I did like hearing that more classic Superman theme because that just helps it. That really does help make me feel like I'm watching a Superman movie. That was one of my dings against Man of Steel is that theme wasn't there. Although I thought the music was solid, I just really love the Superman theme. It's I mean, it's one of my favorite themes from any comic book film. All in all, it feels like a comic book movie, and it definitely feels like a James Gunn movie. So if you're a big fan of James Gunn, that's good news for you. Um, Me, I'm more 50-50 with James Gunn. So that's why, like I said, about half of this movie kind of bugs me, where and then the other half I thought, really works well. And so this one's kind of a tough one for me because whereas I probably wouldn't rewatch this a bunch, I did mostly enjoy it and was mostly entertained for a decent amount of it. And at least I feel like they got Superman right. That's obviously very important because it's his movie, so that helps. Um, so overall, I would say it's a generous 3 out of 5. If you're a Superman fan or a DC fan, I think I think that you're gonna like it, and I think in general audiences are going to probably really like this movie, and I can see it doing well. Um, but but even me as a Superman fan, the movie is very flawed. But I do think it lays, a solid foundation for where the DC will be going in the future. I'm cautiously optimistic about, James Gunn being the head of DC. I just don't want to see James Gunn writing and directing anymore. If you're going to be the head of the studio, be the head of the studio. Just I don't necessarily want him directing another Superman movie or writing another movie going forward. That's just me. I'd like to see it take a different a different direction going forward. Hopefully a better one. Not to say I hate this movie by any means. I think we can really improve on this for the most part. And as always with pretty much any comic book movie these days, there is after credit scenes. There's one towards the beginning of the credits, and there's one at the very end of the credits. So make sure you stick around for that. I'll probably do a spoiler video so I can further explain myself, so I'm not so vague. But I really don't want to spoil anything. I don't want to ruin the movie for anybody because I know a lot of people are looking forward to this. So like I said, I'll make a separate video so I can explain myself a little bit more. But Superman, it opens up this Thursday. And are you excited about it? Are you not excited about it? You planning to see it? Comment below, let me know. And until next time, peace.